My guest today is a woman who, at 49, is probably in better shape, well, than most everyone I know, but better shape than most 30-year-olds, physically. Now, if we're talking mentally, emotionally, psychologically, I think it's fair to say this woman has been put through the ringer and she's out on top. Is that fair to say?
That is fair to say.
Well, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
She really has an amazing story, and she actually tells that story. The day of recording here, this book has only come out just 2 days ago. So I am excited to let people know about this. The book is called The Making of a Woman, and it tells your story. I would need at least a 5-hour show to even talk about half the stuff that you cover in this book and in your story. But for the sake of this episode, I want to talk about the fact that you're in the lifestyle. And I want our listeners to know that there will be another episode where we're talking about the other stuff that affects everyone, emotional, physical health, fitness, just everything that you've been through, because I think it's a great story. So, Jewels, down there in Dallas, Texas, I asked you, I said, so are you in an open marriage? And you're like, well, no. It's an open-minded marriage. What's the difference?
When I think of the word, like when I hear that word, I'm in an open marriage, it just, for me, it equates that the couple, the individuals can go out and enjoy others on their own. And that is not something that my husband and I wanted to do. We're both on our second marriage. And so we are exploring this together, literally together, like almost like I have my best friend along with me and we get to compare notes. And that's where our excitement is.
Okay. So you're swingers.
Open-minded.
Okay.
The reason I have to, let me start with something here is that my entire life I was shoved into the boxes, right? I was a dropout. I fill in the blank. And I always struggled with boxes because I feel boxes, they help others categorize. I get that, but it also limits me as a person. And I think that's another reason why we go with more of like an open marriage, open-minded marriage, is because I don't fit into one category. And also, I don't like the stereotype of the word swingers. So I don't know if I'm being fussy or if I'm changing things up a bit.
Girl, you be you. You be you. No, I get it, because I've had a lot of conversations lately where like the labels kind of concern people because it's, well, like sometimes I might do a little bit of that, but it's not exactly that. So should I really be calling myself that, right? So I love it. So, okay, let's talk about this. Now, it's kind of hard to talk about your story without talking about all the stuff, the trauma that you've been through and everything. But let's try to focus on, first of all, you and your husband, both on your second marriage. Was sex good? I mean, why did you, open it up to something more than the traditional monogamous marriage?
Now, living in Dallas, Texas, I have to tell you, there's a huge box of expectations of what married couples supposed to be like. And I think both my husband and I had come from areas where we were done with that. It wasn't working. And so when we actually got together that first day over coffee, I had no intentions of showing, like this fake facade of who I was. I told him my interest. I told him of my relationship with my girlfriend. I told him I am very independent. So we actually started the relationship on this sexual journey.
Oh.
So it wasn't that we evolved.
Okay. Did you say girlfriend?
Yes, I did.
As in like romantic?
Yes, my lover. Yes.
Ooh, tell me more. Now, had you always been bisexual, or at what point in your life did you discover this?
Yes, I always have been bisexual. So again, it's part of me, it's kind of like, this is what I like for dinner. These are the people I choose to hang out with. And this happens to be the people I love. It's just as simple as that.
All right. And I'm sure he was very receptive to all this, right?
He had ideas. Yeah. We cleared those up right away.
Okay. Very nice. Now, did he have any prior experience in the lifestyle?
No, he traveled a lot for his career in the first marriage. And so he was familiar with the open-mindedness of, say, Amsterdam, but he had never actually, been in the shoes he was when we first got together. He was kind of like a kid in a candy store.
Well, hello. Okay. Clearly you had a lot of conversations, right? I mean, because he really wasn't that familiar. So
yes.
I'm curious to know, are these conversations kind of like the ones where we're having right now, where, it's playful, but it's a real conversation? Or are we talking about like pillow talk, like talk dirty to me kind of conversation?
It was a bit of both. I think just telling him who I was and what I enjoy and the things I've done and the circles I'm within, I think that in itself was like, oh my God, I need to learn more. And I would love to experience this and that. And so it seriously was a partnership.
Mm-hmm, very nice. Now, as with even people who've been in the lifestyle a long time, one thing that has to come up, one conversation that has to be had is the conversation about jealousy, right?
That is a dreaded feeling, I have to tell you.
No, but do you find yourself still feeling it?
Let me back up because again, remember before meeting my husband, I was super independent. There was just no room and I made my decisions. And so ultimately I was never put in a position where I would be uncomfortable like that. And so when that hit me, like a ton of bricks, by the way, I was like appalled that I could not hold myself together emotionally, like inside. Why did that disturb me so bad? And so then, of course, we sat down. I think this is one of the awesome things about this lifestyle is that you go through a scenario like that. You either have the choice of not talking about it again, completely running from the whole scenario, or sitting down and walking through that fear of vulnerability. The last thing I want to do is sit down with a man who adores me and say, I felt really insecure.
Right. Because we see it as a sign of weakness, right?
We do. And so what actually happened with us is we talked about it. I kind of chewed on it, worked through it.
Wait, you got to tell me what happened though.
It was our first little endeavor. We had, it was actually New Year's Eve as well. So it was like a great celebration. And we had actually invited a couple over to our flat. And keep in mind, I'm sexually liberated, so I'm not expecting this at all. And so things get heated up. We go ahead and we, swap partners. And I kid you not, when I looked over and saw how he was interacting with her, how he was having sex with her, it hit me so hard where I was like, hold on, I need to have him back.
Let me ask you a question then. Now, had you before this watched a partner have sex with someone else?
I have, but not anybody that I had my heartstrings involved with. Huge difference.
Okay.
Right? There's different tiers of connection, different tiers of love, right? So I can have sex with people that aren't nearly as connected as my husband and I are and be just fine with it, seeing them with somebody else in the future. But this was a whole new experience. I had no idea that this thing even existed within me.
Okay. You've got to try to explain this feeling to me. Now, I know it sounds very strange, but I am the same way where I'm very independent. I'm very confident. And I've never, and I know sometimes like for people who don't understand it, it sounds awful. It sounds arrogant, but like I've never been jealous. I'm never afraid of losing my partner to anyone else. I don't have those insecurities, but I have girlfriends who've gone through that green monster stuff. And they explained it to me is like this burning sensation. Like you feel like you're just, can you try to describe this feeling to me?
Oh God, and you just become weak. And then you hear that pounding of your heart, like something's wrong, something's wrong.
Wow.
And it's like this fight or flight. At least for me, it was just like, oh my God, I think also, like you just said, there's not a lot of times you experience that. And I think that for me, the way I've worked through some of my jealousy or that green monster is that the confidence that I built around that by having the discussion with my husband, talking openly like you and I are right now, talking with the girl who made me jealous. I mean, like, girl, I hit this at all angles because I didn't ever want to experience that again.
Nice. And then so you found that talking through it, actually having to face it, right? Like head on helped.
Because really, for me, if I start to feel jealous, I'm feeling a sense of inferiority. So something is not in balance because I'm not inferior. So I need to sit down and figure out, like, and more times than not, I have learned I'm being triggered. What in my past gave me this scenario to react this way? Actually, what was super cool is that my husband had a similar situation. And so when he sat down, I think I kind of opened the gates to be able to have this conversation. When he sat down and told me about that, it was kind of like he clenched, like if there was like that gut feeling, like that clenching, like a knife in your gut. And so he did that. And, men have different ways of explaining emotions. And so that was his explanation. And when he told me that he experienced that, oh my God, I didn't even know men could have that feeling. It was profound. And so now that's our symbol. Like if either of us get that, that gut wrenching feeling, we're out, because I know exactly what it feels like. And so does he. So that was really awesome.
I've heard some couples say that jealousy pops up in like the strangest situations where you'd think that watching your husband having sex with someone else would make you jealous. But then it turns out that, oh my gosh, she saw him hold her hand. She saw him look at her a certain way. And that's what made them jealous. So do you find that happens?
I had that incident. That is so true. It is not the big things. It was in a situation where the wife and my husband stepped up to get something to drink. We are still in the same room, but I turned and I looked and he had his arms. He was standing behind her and had his arms wrapped around her tummy area. And I was like, you cannot do that. He's like, I am so lost.
Honey, you get back on the bed and you have sex with her. Do not hold her that way.
It makes no sense. But yes.
Well, the more I hear it, actually, the more it makes sense because it's the intimacy. It's not the physical act, right? It's like, okay, fine, you can go and screw her, whatever. But it's that intimacy. It's the little hand behind the small of her back. How dare you do that?
Right. Totally.
Okay. All right. We're getting somewhere. Now, what we haven't really gotten into yet is the fact that you're a dominatrix?
For lack of a better word. Again, that's kind of like a blanket approach, I think. And I think sometimes it's comforting for people just to grab that word because, again, they can throw it in a box and they can, judge it and make it a stereotype. And actually, I'm a femdom. And what that is a female dominant. So as a female dominant, I am not riddled in black leather. I do not play in dark dungeons. And I do not tie men up in these inconspicuous ways. Mine is, I would say, 80% in the mind. I'm very much an authoritarian. For instance, I will instruct gentlemen to do certain things. And
hold on.
I play with their mind.
Hold on. Like what?
Okay, so one thing that I find more interesting than ever, and how common it is even also a little startling. But for instance, I may instruct a gentleman to put on a pair of panties. Now, there are different mindsets for the men who enjoy this kind of humiliation. Some are truly, cross-dressing is a thrill. Then there are the other ones that, oh my God, this is completely humiliating. Right. And they love it. They love it. Love it. I have found that in the difference between the masculine and the feminine, for instance, within our society, the masculine, the men in our lives, they're expected to provide. They are very pride based. They're like the king of the kingdom, right? And as women, we can be the ones that kind of hold it all together. We're the ones who nurture these beautiful children. We're the ones that teach, this. So it's almost like we're the finesse, and they're the more masculine. So what I have found is that to be able to put this gentleman in that degree of humiliation is something he has never experienced.
And when he does, he likes it?
He likes it. Yes, he likes it.
And are we talking about men who in their vanilla lives are strong, successful, maybe described as alpha men, like to the public eye? Are those the men, right? Those are the men who...
Yes.
Oh.
Yep. Primarily they are. Because again, let's face it. I mean, our men are expected to do a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
At least here in Texas, right? Again, I live in a very traditional state where, these relationships and characteristics are very strongly ingrained. It's a lot of fun.
So like right now, I'm imagining like the Marlboro man wearing lace panties. Hot.
or that corporate finance guy. Watch out for them.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay, so
yeah.
But does this go outside of just you and your marriage? This femdom thing? Like, do you practice it with other men?
Actually, it is not part of my marriage at all.
Oh.
No. And so backing up a little bit, before I met my husband, this was my career. I had taken it from a lifestyle of just playing within, the community here. And then I took it into a professional realm because I realized that I was providing a service that many men did not have access to.
The more I talk to you, the more stuff just keeps on coming out.
Yeah.
Wow. So then you know about Femdom, right?
Yes, I do.
So you've heard of Femdom. So I
Yes.
recently heard about this. I didn't know it was a thing. For our listeners who are not familiar with this, can you explain what Femdom is? So it's not Femdom, it's Findom. What is that?
Femdom. So the fin portion of that says it's the financial. So financial dominant, right? It is typically a female who is financially dominating this gentleman. It's another form of humiliation. Now, demand money. This is not my niche. Again, it's not my niche. It's not something I understand totally, but I've had girlfriends who love it. Totally love it.
Well, what's not to love? So, okay, from what I'm hearing, it is sometimes as simple as, hey, send me money. And he actually gets off on sending, strange women money. Sometimes he gets something for it, but a lot of times he doesn't get anything in return. There's no, sex involved.
Mm-hmm.
There's, sometimes there may be an exchange of photos or video or whatever, but sometimes there isn't. And it is I love the human brain because most people would hear that and say, what? That's idiotic, right?
Yes.
And not understand that there are people who are sexually turned on by that. Sexually turned on by having to send a woman money, having to pay her bills. I mean, it sounds really ridiculous to people who don't get it.
Different people have different relationships with things. So as I was describing, men and their power, they have that relationship with power. We have a different relationship with power, right? So they have a different relationship with money. I have a different relationship with money. That's what it is. It's the power exchange between the two.
Okay. As you grow older, do you find that just the physicality of having sex is different? Are you enjoying it more? Are you having to work more? How has it changed?
I think as I've evolved, I have peeled back a lot of the barriers in my mind. I think just energetically, I'm more comfortable in my skin. And I've always been a very sexual person. Like I have a lot of sexual energy. I have a lot of love. So what I have found is that as I get older or as, I continue on, is that it becomes less of a checklist and more of an experience. Before it was like, okay, of course, hypothetically in the back of your mind, it's like, all right, we're going to have sex and this is going to happen and this is going to happen. And this is he's got to come and I've got to come here. And so, right, I've got like the checklist that's like kind of rattling off in the back of my head. And now it seems to be like, we're just going to go into this space again, because of those restrictions, they're no longer there, that more things open up while I'm in that space.
Looking into the future, and I know that, and especially since we're just talking now about no expectations and no checklist, but do you have fantasies you haven't fulfilled yet?
I do. I'm still very human.
Let's hear it.
Yes. Oh my gosh. You want me to tell you my fantasy? Okay, let me soften this up. I've always enjoyed the company of Black men, and there's just something about them, that vibe that I really, really enjoy. And so if I enjoy it with one, I'm thinking I might enjoy it with many.
So we are talking about like a gangbang with Black men. That's your fantasy.
Yes.
Woman, why haven't you made that happen?
Because that's pretty scary. I'm just not there yet.
Okay. All right. So that's a lot to prepare for. See, but now you have a goal. Now you've got a goal. We're setting goals.
Well, now I've really put it out to the universe. So watch out. The weekend's right around the corner.